All right. Okay, cool. So what are we trying to solve for? So basically, we're looking for a solution that first get an automated notification whenever the claim is reported at first. So this would solve, the lag we're having between when the claim is reported and when the investigation would start. So we want to have this notification to start the work, or start understanding what the issue was instantly. We want to have also an alert of missing data or documentation. So whenever we receive a claim from a customer through the AR team, we're receiving also a set of data to help us start the investigation, and also documentation to help us understand what happened, which type, which order, which customer, etc. So which product are we talking about, how much the claim is about, what's the type of the claim, etc. And the way we're receiving this the documentation and also the claim form, in most of the cases are missing data, which goes back and forth between us and the customer, and even the 3PL whenever they're missing information to complete the investigation. So we want to have this kind of alert whenever we don't have this mandatory data to complete or to start the investigation. Also, as I said, this process is involving many stakeholders, many people, many owners, and we want to have also an alert to each owner once the previous step is completed, so they know that they have an action and it need to be completed in a certain time frame. Depending on or following the SLA we have with them. As I said, the investigation is involving our 3PL parties. So if the investigation is not completed, or if the steps is not completed on time, we want to have an escalation to our P&G PD SPOC, so they know in case something is delayed. So we take actions and we make sure that it's closed. Of course, the reporting and tracking part is very important today as well. It's very manual, so we're relying on this Excel sheet to track the claim status, to report also our claim KPI. So we have in process and output measure that we're tracking, and this is done separately using this consolidated Excel sheet with the data. Sorry, can you please go on mute or ask me a question if I need to stop here? Okay.
Just one question from my end. I'm sorry, my name is Darnish. So basically, the claim you're talking about is for the primary claims or the secondary claims. Now, to be more precise, the claims which the distributor has to submit to the company, like towards the primary purchases, or those claims which is supposed to be taken from the market and submitted.
Okay, so basically the claim we're talking about is the claim that whenever we ship an order to our customer, or a customer comes and pick up the order from our facilities, they go back and they check the product. So we're talking about missing product or damaged product.
So basically, P&G, all the purchases or purchase orders which are placed to P&G, whether it is supplied intact without any damages or expiries or any shortages, this is what the claim you're talking about.
Yes, that's right.
Distributors placing an order to the company, and then the same the purchases, whether it is intact or not. This is what the claim is required. Okay, understood.
Absolutely.
So basically, this is a primary claim. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's not only our distributors, we have customers as well. So it's all our customers, including distributors, right?
Understood. Thank you.
And so
hi, Miriam,
I was talking about the reporting piece. Yeah, sorry.
Hi, Miriam. I have a question. So once your customer finds some deficiencies in the product, then how are they intimating it back for a replacement?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a replacement because we cannot, like, if we ship like a full truck and then they found, look, we have 3 cases missing or damaged, we will not replace these 3 cases. What happened is that we issue a credit note to the customer if the issue is coming from P&G, right? So it's not replacement necessarily. It's just investigating what the claim is about. Is it, and who is liable for this claim? And then either we reject the claim or we accept the claim, and then we issue a credit note to our customers or distributors.
And how are the customers reaching you back with regards to damages or for a credit note?
So yeah, so
Is
basically
there a
what happened for
system?
the,
Is
yeah,
there a
so
Go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, so basically what happened is that when we ship the customer, we invoice so when the order is delivered, it's delivered with the invoice, right? And when the customer checks the stock they received afterward, either at during the unloading or even afterward, few days afterward, they report the claims. So the way it happened is that they when they share when actually they pay us, they exclude the amount of the damages of the shortages in the invoice that comes to our AR. And this is actually how we start the investigation. Now, in parallel, whenever we deliver a customer an order and they found that there is a shortage or damages or misses, whatever, they also share a POD with our 3PL when we deliver it's us which deliver the orders to the customer, right? So this POD is also captured and reported in a SharePoint by our 3PL. And then when it comes from the AR, we try to match the data and see if what they want to exclude from the invoice is what was reported through this POD to our 3PL who delivers the order.
Got
Does
it.
it answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I want to highlight as well is that we have different scenarios. Actually, we have 3 scenarios depending on the delivery type, right? So the automation needs to consider these 3 scenarios because not all the deliveries are happening the same way. So we have orders that P&G delivers to the customer or the distributor through our transporter 3PL. And we have also instances when the customer or the distributor themselves comes to our facilities and pick the orders. And for those, we have 2 scenarios. We have a scenario where the customers come with a checker and then validate, the loading with the right quantity with the right quality. And for that case, we have a different way of managing the claim. And we have also scenarios when the customer send or comes to pick up the facility, the loads or the goods from our facilities without a checker. And for this one, we have also a separate process flow. So this is basically the nuances and the differences we have in our process that we want also this automation to take into account, because depending on the delivery type, we have a different owner, a different liability, and so on. Now, this is what is related to the claim automation, but we have also we also plan to automate or to have the ePOD automation at later stage. So when you share the proposal, we want you also to include a separate module that we would like to do later on the ePOD. The only like watch out I want to share is that the way we want this automation to be is not hard coded, right? So we are and we will adjust the flow of our process. So in case we have any change in the setup, ownership, etc., we want this to be considered by the automation, and we will not be like doing it from scratch because we have changes in our process flow. So I'll just pause here again for question before moving to the next one.
So, Mariam, how as a PNG, what type of claims you entertain today? How many type of claims? Whether it is damage claim, expiry claim, short receipt claim.
Yeah, so actually it's a product claim. It's either it's actually quality claims, right? So it's either misses or damages.
So there is no any scheme claims, price difference claim, and all, right?
Yes, this is we have those claims, but it's not managed by the supply chain team. It's managed directly by finance. So we're not looking at those in this specific automation. We're looking only at product quality claims.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mariam. This is Victor from Triplo. I just wanted to find out, so you mentioned that there are multiple owners in the process. Do you mind maybe, I don't know if it's possible just to kind of share inside your process, right? So once it's received, it goes to accounts receivable and who's the next owner, who's the next owner. So from that perspective.
Okay, so I have the process flow here. Safi, would you like to take this one?
Hi everyone. Yes, I'll this one.
I'm not able to share. Okay, maybe it's here.
So should we go into it as in detail or just
Maybe just quickly because I can share this later on.
okay. So just to answer your question, so we have the account receivables whereby they are the ones who receive the claim from the customer. Then they allocate that claim, whether it's can you please scroll down a bit? So first of all, the claim when it's received from a different report. Then the AR actually checks whether it's a logistic claim, which is for us, or not. Then from there on, they check if it has a reference or not. Then they put it on our report, which is what we're currently doing. Then it goes to our 3PL transporter in pink, whereby they do their own investigations. They check if they're the ones who did the delivery or not. If they didn't do the delivery, they will share it with the process engineer, which is me. Then I will then allocate that to the DHL, which is in blue. The DHL team is the team that usually handles all other direct deliveries, which is like 20% of them, and our collections. So they will do their own investigations. Then if it's required, we will then get sign off from in purple. I think it's from the customer. Can you please?
Yeah, the customer team.
Yes. So depending on the liability, or there's the other 3PL, the transporter that did our direct 20%, then from there on they'll post the credit. Then in pink, our IMS will also follow more or less the same way of investigation. Then they will then conclude the investigation, share it with me in gray. Then I will check if what they did makes sense or not. Then if it doesn't make sense, they claim it's valid and the proof they have it's not making sense, I'll return it to them. If now it makes sense, it will go to DHL in blue to post the credit. Then everything else after a credit has been posted by DHL in blue will then go back to AR in green. So if we have any residual on the claim after it was cleared, then the claim will follow the same process again. If we don't have any residuals and the claim is closed, then it should be removed from the list. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Selfie. So just in a nutshell, we have the account receivable who share or who receives the claim. We have our P&G Spock who is Selfie, and then we have three 3PLs. So we have the transporter, we have the warehousing 3PL, and we have the line broker for another 3PL for few deliveries. So whenever we have a direct delivery from P&G, we check who is liable depending on the type of delivery we have. Is it managed by our transporter? Is it managed by another lane broker? Or the liability goes to the warehousing team? And this is basically, what's our P&G Spock do, which is assigning, depending on the type of delivery, who need to run the investigation, and once the investigation is completed at one end, and if there is nothing found, then it goes to another 3PL for the same. Now, this is, as I said, for the deliveries that we are managing from P&G. Now, we have cases where the customers comes and pick up the product, which is a collection delivery, which is like a collection scenario, and we have two type of collection, either with a checker from the customer side to make sure that before we load everything is okay, and then there is a process in case we have a claim, and then we have also another a scenario of claim where the customer picks up the good but without a checker, so they don't have anyone that validates the load before it goes to them, and we have a different process as well involving different parties. So this is basically in a nutshell. Maybe we'll not have time to go into each scenarios in details, but we can share this with you afterward. Any other questions on the?
So the claims process starts with the account receivable. There is no formal process otherwise, is it? I mean, the customer just deducts the amount to be paid, and that's what kickstarts this workflow.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is how it starts. So it's account receivable who received the claim at first, not at first, who received the claim from the customer that triggers the process. Now, when we have a deliveries to our transporters, and then the customer figure out that there is a miss or a damage at the time of unloading, they share it in with our 3PL in the POD. So whenever they receive the goods and they found out that something is not as expected, they will still share it and report it in the POD that is reported in a SharePoint. Now, we are not going and checking each POD, and in some cases, actually, even the 3PL can start the investigation based on the POD they got, but it's not systemic, right? So, and P&G doesn't know about it actually. So it's only when we get it through our account receivable that we are aware, and we can start the investigation properly. So this is why actually the process started when account receivable shares the claim, but at a later stage, what we want to do is to automate this POD and have this ePOD process. So whenever there is a claim, there is the POD is reported with misses or damages, we know about it instantly.
Miriam,
And this is actually a second phase of the automation we want to do.
So I have a question here. So this platform won't have any access outside your organization or your any like your team. So customers or the persons who are buying or making claims, they will not have access to this platform, right?
No. Yes.
Yeah.
They don't.
Okay.
Miriam, this is Sam Tracy at QuickBase. Is the customer aware that the claim is being created on their behalf, or are they just not fulfilling the whole payment to accounts receivable, and P&G is internally saying, hey, there's a claim being created?
No, actually, whenever they report a claim, so they have it in their records as well, and they wouldn't, pay unless we get back to them with an investigation and what happened for that claim, right? So it's our It's the P&G responsibility actually to close that claim and go back to the customer and explain what happened, and either agree that there is something that happened at our end with our 3PL, or disagree and reject this claim. But the customer do not have access to our system to say what's the claim status, for example, what's the was it investigated or not yet, etc. All what they do is that they report the claim to us, right? And then we go back to them to share what happened and if we are accepting the claim or rejecting it, and why, obviously.
While making this claim, how much information you need? Is it just the number of it, the maybe pictures, or what kind of information you actually needed to start this claim process?
Safi, would you like to take that one?
Yes. So for us to start with this process, we don't necessarily need pictures. We need the signed POD. So when the customer receives the stock, they take what they've received and they make notes and they sign it to acknowledge that they have received and they are in agreement with the comments they've made. Then there's also a claim that they put in. So there's a copy of claim that they also need to share with us. So that's more like a POD pack for us to use. So it's only documents, papers.
Yeah. So actually, they need to share with us the order number or the delivery number. They need to share with us the quantity that they want to claim and which product are they claiming, and yeah, the POD copy.
You haven't actually mentioned yet how they actually submit this. Is it telephonic? Is it someone get in the car and drive and drop it off at a desk? Do they email it? How is it actually submitted?
So
And just to add to that question, you mentioned it comes through accounts receivables, right? I mean, that's where you see a discrepancy or he's paying less. So how are these two linked?
Okay. Miriam, can I answer or you?
Sure. Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead, Safi.
So what happens today is, as soon as we see it in the accounts receivable that there is a claim, some of the customers, they do share the documents with the account receivable team. Then the team will then share the documents with us.
Yeah, but
But some,
sorry, you're still not answering. How do you see, how is the claim initiated? You say you see there's a claim. In other words, the claim has already been initiated. How is it actually being initiated?
So they deduct the amount in their account. So if an account has, let's say, 100,000 rands, they deduct maybe 2,000 rands for that stock that they haven't received.
So that is the only channel for logging a claim is I just don't pay you enough money.
Yes.
But okay, but how would you know, sorry, on that, how would you know what that 2,000 rand equates to, or what part of the shipment that 2,000 rand relates to?
So that's another problem that we have. So sometimes they will debit that amount, they will put in a reference to say, for this order, this is the amount that we debited, without them giving us feedback to say this is the stock we did not receive. So sometimes they just debit, they share the order number, and there is no documentation. So we are not able to see exactly what they are claiming for.
How do they get the documentation to you?
So they send the documentation to the AR team or the finance team.
Via email?
Yeah, I think via email, where they do have the documents. But if they don't, we still don't know what they're claiming for. We just see the order number that they deducted, that 2,000 rands, and that's it.
And what do you do with this documentation? You keep it as part of this claim, but where do you put it? In a file, a drawer, someone's back boot?
So currently, AR has created a SharePoint whereby they put in the claim support in it. Then, sorry?
And that's stored against the accounts receivables ledger.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. So the customer deducts the claim amount from the invoice, but also they share with the AR the reason why, right? So we receive we don't have like we don't have a standard form that all customers uses to share the claim. Each customer has his own way of communicating to AR, obviously by email, saying that we are deducting this amount from that invoice because we are missing product. Some share more details. These are the product we're missing, or this is the product that's we got shortage on, and with the quantity, with the reference, etc. For others, they don't. So what happened is that if the claim do not have any reference, because the reference number will help us to go back to the POD number and then match and see if there is any misses that were highlighted at that point or not. But if we don't at least the reference number, we cannot do anything, and then AR need to go back to the customer to share at least the reference number. So we're not asking more than the reference number. Now, if we have this reference number, we can go and check the POD and see if there is anything that was reported. If there is none in the POD, then we reject and we ask the customer for more information. If we don't have even the reference number, we got stuck, and then we ask AR to go back to the customer and share at least the reference number and more details. So this is how it works.
How many claims do you get on average a month, and how long does it take on average to close those claims?
Ralphie, do you have a number?
Yeah, I'm not sure how many per month, but currently we're sitting on quite a lot, about I think 700 or so. And the total number, we decreased by 2 million. We are on, I think, 9 million. So they are quite a lot.
Claims.
And yeah, and in terms of the period,
9
it
million
can,
rand, not number.
sorry?
Not, it's 9 million rand, not absolute number of claims. The value of the claims are worth 9 million rand. The absolute number is around 700 currently. And then on average from customers, you're looking at between 100 to 150 claims on a monthly basis, new claims that come in.
How many?
100 to 150 on
100
average.
to 150. And on average, how long does it take to close those claims?
So we're quite bad at that. So it will take, if I average it out, about a month. Because there's some claims that are still open currently that are 3 to 4 months old.
And what are you expecting as a return on closing these claims if you're able to automate this solution? A significant decrease? Is it half?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
So you're looking to halve the time effectively?
Correct, because what we have in terms of our SLAs with our service providers and expectations with customers is if there's a claim open in the system within 7 to 14 days, that's what we want to get it closed by.
So in other words, you're on average failing the SLA by 100% every single time, is what you're saying.
Yes.
And we want to obviously bring that under SLA. Okay, cool. I understand.
Yes.
And how many approvals you need on one claim? Like, is it a single person can approve the claim and you can move forward, or is it like the series, like one stakeholder then another one? You need a series of approvals.
So
how it goes?
So there's no approvals on claims required in terms of. So it depends on the investigation. So the investigation solely is just whether, as a starting point, whether the claim is valid or invalid. And then if the claim is invalid, it gets returned back to the customer. If the claim is valid, then it's just a matter of who in the supply chain is liable for the amount. So that's why there's no like approval process, because we know that one of our 3PLs will be liable for the amount. So there's no approval required. It's just
So the
as a starting
validity,
point, whether it's a valid or invalid claim.
yeah.
And
So who
once
decides
it's
it's
valid,
valid? Is it like the single entity can decide if it's valid, or if it's like a multiple person should agree on this validity?
It's multiple because it just depends on where it's DHL and Imperial. Those are the two big ones.
And then, sorry, just a question from my side. By breaking these SLAs, are you guys paying penalties? I mean, is there a cost? Can you give us a cost as to how much this is costing you?
So there is no penalties as such. We just have open claims that are impacting our receivables because a customer do not pay until we close the claim and get back to them if it's valid or invalid, right? So there is no penalties as such, but it's impacted our receivables.
Okay, but also it doesn't give you the ability to negotiate better rates and things like that.
With whom?
With your suppliers.
He's on supply.
I just explain a bit more. Sorry, I'm not following this. Like, how would it?
So in other words, if you were paying your suppliers on time, you know, you would be able to negotiate better rates with them, surely.
Yeah, this is receivables, not payables.
Okay, so I'm thinking about it from the other side. Okay. Okay.
It's not payables. Yeah, it's not payables.
Just a question from my side. So so the software solution that you're looking at, what is the start for the software and what is the end for the software? What are you trying to automate in the tool? Is it the workflow for these complex approvals, rejections, or where does it start for the tool? Do you want a portal where a customer logs in a complaint, then you route it to the channel? Is that what you're looking at, or can you just elaborate a little bit more on this? Because I'm finding it difficult to understand what will be the start of the software and what should be the end of the software.
So the start of the software, and then Dava and Safi, you can build on that or correct me if I'm wrong, but the start would be from the reporting at account receivable side. Because when they got a claim from the customer, they report it into an Excel sheet and then the process started. We want to get out of this Excel sheet and have this, you know, process reported in a portal or, you know, a solution that whenever it's reported, then it's being visible to everyone, and then we can track all the actions and all the process, all the flow of the process, and then, you know where the investigation is with, and yeah, so, and it will end once the claim is closed, obviously. Once we
So
either
Miriam, just let me hold you there. So you're saying the customer maybe via email is responding, is escalating that there is some damage that they've come across in the goods. So it's an email-based conversation that they're doing.
Yes.
And it comes to your AR team. Then the AR team will be logging into the software and creating this claim, this query, right, into our tool, whichever tool you find nice, right?
Yes. Yes.
And what are the details that they're going to capture? So the POD, the reference number, etc. They're going to key in into the tool.
Absolutely, yes.
And the reason for the damage or or you know,
Absolutely.
the numbers are missed.
So the data, yeah, basically the data that they are receiving from the customers.
Now, once this is done, then what happens?
Then it goes to the, it's so depending on the customer delivery type, it would be directed to the either the 3PL or the DHL or IMS or the line broker to start the investigation.
So in the software, so you're looking at whenever the AR person tags a particular claim, either if it's damaged, then this, when he selects damage, it should be triggering to any one of the 3PL teams that you guys have, right? So you wanted escalation going to these mail triggers going to these individual departments, right?
Yes, yes.
So once they get these triggers, then what happens?
So they will, so we will, so each, like, we have a flow. We will follow the same flow depending on the type of the claim and the ownership of the investigation. And we want this, once a step is completed, because we have multiple steps. Once one step is completed, it triggers the action to the following owner. And whenever the action is not completed on time, it's got escalated to the P&G spoke. So we make sure that we meet the SLA and so on until we close the loop. So this is basically the automation we're looking at.
But then Miriam, based on this to-be process you're talking about, the expectation is that external users will have access to the system so that they get these
3PL
notifications
users.
and escalations.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
3PL, which are non-P&G basically
Yes.
users.
Right. Yes.
And major of these transactions would be B2B or B2C. So your customers basically would be B2B customers also, like companies who might procure your products, or it's any layman person on the planet who's
B2B.
procuring.
All the claims are B2B.
Yeah.
B2B, good.
Yeah.
And how
The
do you,
customer.
when you have,
Question.
How often are you?
I was wondering,
managing
what's your
multiple-
system for accounts receivable?
We're using SAP, but we're not planning any integration to our ERP at this stage.
How often are you managing multiple claims with the same consumer or the same customer or the same 3PL?
The percentage of the claim we're receiving by customer.
How often are multiple claims running simultaneously with the same customer or the same third-party logistics provider?
So on this one, if I'll rephrase the question. If the question is how often or what's the amount of claims that are open for one specific customer at any point of time, you're looking at anything between 15 to 20 claims per customer that will be open. The second part of the question is with what's open with 3PLs. That's the full 700 because our 3PLs are accountable for the investigation and closing it off.
And
right
is it
now,
like
those
the
updates-
multiple? Sorry, Michelle, I just interference this question. Is it that the same reference number can have multiple claims, or is it a one reference number can have only one claim at one time?
Yeah. So how the customer will have a claim reference, and it's one claim, and that's linked to one invoice number or one delivery that happened, one POD. Now, what can happen is that a delivery could have 5 or 6 invoices on one delivery. So one claim could have 5 or 6 invoices linked to it.
and one invoice also could have multiple products, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You mentioned that you currently enter it into an Excel sheet, and I assume you have a template that you use. Would you be able to share that template so that we understand what information you are inputting?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. And just coming back to this template, actually, and Safi, maybe you can build on that one. What happened is that whenever AR received the claim, they recorded or registered the claim in SAP, right? And then they got an extract from SAP, which contain all the elements that they got from the customer. So this would be the base for our tracking. Right, Selfie. So it's not actually manually input, but it's an extract from the system whenever they report a claim into SAP. Right, Selfie?
Yes. I'm sorry, my voice is a bit soft. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that the third-party service logistics providers should have access to the system. How would you authenticate them?
How would we?
How would you authenticate them? How do you know they are from the right company and the right person, since they probably will not have a P&G ID or a login credentials or something?
Because we have set 3PLs for supply chain, so we know that, for example, with warehousing, it's we only use DHL, and we know the claims team that works with them. So the people don't change that are doing the investigation. The same with, for example, Imperial that's doing the transport.
So
actually, they don't have access to our system. They don't have access to our system. Just to clarify on that one, when we report a claim, it's reported in our system, and our both system communicates. So they don't have access to ours. They have access to their own system, which communicate with ours.
So you want
Yeah,
the
but
integration
allow me
as
to
well
add.
for-
Allow me to add here. So as we build this like platform, obviously there will be some sort of access management to give access to the users. And for P&G employees, the expectation is that they log in with their P&G accounts. And for the external business parties, we can also create for them a P&G account, basically for specifically for EBPs that can authenticate on our Active Directory, if that's the
Thank
need.
you. Thank you. That answers it.
Hey, you mentioned that you were not interested in go ahead.
Yeah. Is the scope limited to claim automation, or are you also looking at a solution to improve the fulfillment process? Because I understand the whole thing is arising due to gaps in the fulfillment process.
No,
So the
today
scope will
we're
be
looking at
limited
the
to claims.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you looking at any specific tech stack, or are you open to emerging technologies like blockchain solutions, since there are several parties involved?
I don't see exactly how would blockchain help in such use case. The way I see it for now, it's mainly a workflow so that we have
Okay.
the right users and timestamps to be able to investigate whenever there is a delay. And at a certain point in time, we know who's liable basically for a claim.
Okay.
Maybe there's something I'm not clear on. So if you can help me, I help explain how would blockchain help here, please let me know.
Sure.
But I don't see the need for now.
Okay.
Just a quick
Yeah.
question. Do you already have a business process engine in your system, and would you leverage it again over here, or you want a custom workflow built for this?
No, we don't have a current custom, a workflow now. So we do need the customer
You do?
workflow to be built.
No, I'm asking, do you have a business process engine or a business process management tool, which you already have in P&G, which you would reuse?
For this specific use case, we don't have one.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
I received also a few questions before the sessions. So this is actually what we would like to highlight. So first, we're looking at a claim automation process first, and at later stage have an EPOD solution. So we would like to see the proposal with both modules. We are and regarding the how many drivers, etc., so we can share the data later, but this is linked to the EPOD. We're expecting to have 20 to 30 users, so from P&G and the 3PL side. We're looking for a cloud solution, and the solution would be implemented for the 2 DCs we have in South Africa. Obviously, users will be from different location, and we are not planning to integrate this solution to our current ERP system. And I think even the future is not for the future is not planned.
What is the overall number of users you're looking at, which includes the ARs, 3PLs, and all of it? Total number of users for the project?
So we're looking at 20, 30. I think this is on the high side because we would like to give this solution to different users from P&G just to display, others for input, specifically the 3PL and 2 or 3 from P&G side. But we want also to have a display view to many users from P&G.
Now, is the hope that the view for those users at P&G or 3PL would have different dashboards for which they could analyze what's interesting to them?
Absolutely, yes.
Are the 2 data centers that you're mentioning in RSA? Would you be able to tell us what data center are this? Cloud like AWS or Azure or something, or your
This
own
is
data center?
distribution center, not data center. So it's physical
Oh, okay.
distribution center.
Sorry.
And just worth mentioning that this is a pilot we're doing in RSA. However, we have other markets that experience similar issues. So if this is successful, we may consider rolling it out to other markets as well.
Now, it looks like you use Teams internally to communicate. Would there be a desire to also have integration with that system for notification internally?
It could be over Teams or emails, like notifications. If it goes to emails, I think would be also good enough at this stage.
Okay. And when you mentioned that you're not looking to integrate directly with the ERP system, would you be interested in integrating indirectly, like through batches or through data exports?
I would suggest now assume that the extracts will come in a manual manner. As long as we agree on the fields and of the frequency of having these extracts, we can plan manually, and then at a later point in time, we can explore having that any jobs running to get the extracts.
Thank you very much.
And is there anything going on that's prompting solving this problem now? I assume this is not a new problem.
So we just to clarify, where we looking at it now, the idea of running a unbox-like program of approaching the startup entrepreneur and businesses in the country and around the country was done, I think, for the first time recently in Singapore and North Africa, and it was a solution or a program that worked very successfully in solving a lot of the business challenges we had on the table, not just in the transport space, but on brand marketing, sales, etc. as well. So with the capability of bringing that to South Africa, we did look at all different functions we have, and this was one of the business challenges we had on the table that we said will be good for this program on the transport side.
Great, thank you.
And what would be the end device that you use? Is it the account receivables or entry through a desktop, or you need mobile interfaces and all of that?
I think the desktop at this stage is good enough. We're not eventually with the ePOD solution, it will be integrated into mobile. But for this stage, I think desktop is good enough. Nada? Am
Yes,
I
agree.
correct?
Yes, I agree.
How much time is it taking
Is there
right
a-
now to resolve cases?
On average, 30 days.
Okay, and your objective is 14 days?
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. And basically, just to maybe give you more perspective, most of the time is spent closing the investigation, assigning the investigation to the right owner and closing the investigation. Once we are clear on the investigation, it goes very, smoothly. Either we issue the credit note or we reject the claim and then communicate to the customer. Also, when we receive the claim from the customer through AR, it's reported, right away in our system. So like 80%, 90% of the time is like assigning the investigation to the right owner and closing it, and closing actually this cycle.
Who's responsible to assign? Is it the AR?
So it's dependent. No, it's not AR. It's depending on the delivery type, depending on how this order was delivered to the customer. The ownership and the liability goes to different 3PL owners.
And that information will be input by AR when they're in like logging the claim.
It's not input by AR. So depending on the, if it's if it's a direct delivery, it goes directly to DHL, and DHL complete the investigation. If it's with them, they close it. Otherwise, they assign it to IMS. If it's a collection, it goes directly to the transporter, right? So depending on the type of delivery, we have different owners identified. So it's not when we receive the claim, then when we look for the owner, who is the owner.
But
It's
Miriam, this
predefined
type of
depending on the type.
delivery, yeah, this type of delivery, will it be anywhere in any system so that it can be combined with the claim to make the system assign it to the next person accordingly?
Yeah, so the way I see it is depending on, we need to have a kind of not master data, I don't know how should I call it, but based on the type of based on the customer, for example, we will assign the ownership to the right owner, or based on the type of delivery, we can assign it to a different owner. So we can predefine based, and we can decide the base, if it's the customer name or the location, the shipping location, etc. We can assign who would be the owner in case of claim. So it can be predefined.
Thank you, Miriam, and thank you everyone for your questions. And I think we are at the end of our session right now. And if there are any more questions, I have put down the contact details in the chat.